You are standing in a beige government corridor in Riyadh, holding a laminated visitor badge that says consultant, and the air conditioning smells faintly of cardamom and recirculated secrets. You are not a consultant. The man who handed you the badge this morning at 0500, white thobe, dark eyes, no name, told you exactly three things: keep the badge visible, do not speak Arabic in front of the household staff, and if anyone asks, you are here to audit the palace's IT infrastructure. There is no IT infrastructure to audit. What there is, 17 kilometers of corridor across 4 interconnected royal compounds, 42 exits catalogued and memorized over 6 weeks of satellite imagery, a primary target who sleeps in a different room every night and hasn't appeared in public in 11 days, and a handler somewhere in London who is watching a feed you are generating in real time through a lens embedded in the second button of your shirt. You've been doing this for 9 years. You know the smell of a place that is watching itself, the way palace guards look slightly too long at the middle distance, the way certain hallways fall quieter than physics can explain. This place has that smell. You take the badge. You clip it to your lapel. You smile at the guard who is not smiling back. Your heart rate is 58 beats per minute. Exactly. You trained it to stay there. You don't know yet that by the end of this assignment, you will have shaken a crown prince's hand, destroyed a friendship that took 3 years to build, and made a decision in a marble-floored bathroom that you will never discuss with anyone, for the rest of your life. You take your first step inside. The door closes behind you. Let's go back. 6 months earlier. You live in a mid-sized apartment in Amman, Jordan. The lease is in a name that is yours on 2 passports and neither on the third. You drink your coffee black. You run 6 kilometers every morning at 0600 through the same streets in the same shoes, and the routine is not comfort, it's tradecraft. Routine makes you invisible. People stop noticing what they see every day. You work, officially, for a British private security consultancy called Meridian Risk Partners. Meridian has a website, a LinkedIn page, for real employees, and one purpose: to provide plausible cover for the 6 of you who do the actual work. You were recruited at 27, out of the army. An assessor sat across from you in a converted conference room in Hereford and asked you what you wanted from your life. You said you wanted to matter. He wrote something down. You were selected 3 days later. That was 9 years ago. Now you are 36, and you have a shoulder that dislocates if you reach too fast, and 2 molars that were cracked during a 7-day detention in a black site outside Tbilisi that officially never happened. You don't talk about Tbilisi. You barely think about it. What you think about, on your 0600 runs, is whether the job is still what you thought it was. Not because it became darker, you knew it was dark. You accepted darkness. What unsettles you is something smaller: you've stopped needing to accept it. The first time you planted a listening device in a diplomat's residence, your hands shook for 4 hours afterward. Last year, you did the same in a hospital room while a man lay unconscious 3 meters away, and your hands were completely still. You noticed. You filed the observation away, the way you file everything. You haven't opened that file since. Your handler's name is Marcus. He calls every Friday at noon. The calls last 4 minutes. The last one ended with 7 words you've been turning over ever since. Something is developing. We'll need you for it. You finished your run. You stretched. You made your coffee. That night, you slept deeply and did not dream. That is its own kind of warning. The brief arrives on a Tuesday. Encrypted PDF. 22 pages. You read it once, straight through, then close the laptop and sit in the dark for 11 minutes. The mission has a name, Operation Sandglass, and a target, a mid-level royal household official who has, over the past 8 months, been routing information to a foreign intelligence service. Not a hostile state. A friendly one. Which makes this delicate. You are not here to arrest anyone. You are not here to make anything public. You are here to identify what was past, confirm whether the leak is ongoing, and leave no trace that anyone ever looked. You have 6 weeks. You have a cover identity, a supporting legend, and a single contact inside the palace, a man named Tariq, a royal protocol officer who believes he is consulting for a private security firm on a staffing review. Tariq does not know what you actually are. That is the only way this works. You read the brief again. Slower this time. There's a detail on page 14 that stays with you. The target, the one who's been leaking, has a daughter. 19 years old. Enrolled at King Saud University. She doesn't know what her father does. She doesn't know what her father has done. You note it. You don't know yet why you noted it. Marcus calls that Thursday, not Friday. You've read it, he says. It isn't a question. Twice. And you tell him you'll go. You tell him you have questions about the extraction protocol if the situation deteriorates. He answers 2 of them. The third, what happens to Tariq when this is over, he does not answer. Tariq has been compensated, Marcus says. You don't ask compensated how. That night you pull out the secure phone and look at the palace schematics for the 3rd time. You're not looking for exits. You already know the exits. You're looking at the residential wing. The private apartments. The places where people inside those walls are simply, people. Your coffee goes cold. You don't notice until you reach for it an hour later. Some part of you is already inside the palace. The rest of you is still deciding whether that's the right thing to be. There is a moment, in every operation, where the door is still technically open. You are sitting in a hotel room in Riyadh, the Ritz-Carlton, because the cover demands it, because men who audit palace IT infrastructure for private firms don't stay in budget hotels, and the door is still open. You could call Marcus. Tell him the legend is thin, the risk calculus is wrong, that putting an operative this close to the royal household on a job this politically sensitive is 6 weeks from a diplomatic catastrophe. He would listen. He would tell you to trust your instincts. Then he would send someone else. And you would go back to Amman. And run your 6 kilometers. And wait for the next call. You don't make the call. What you do, you order room service. You eat in silence. You review your Arabic phonetics, not to speak it, to understand it, to catch the half-second of surprise in someone's voice before they remember you're supposed to be a foreigner. You organize your equipment, 2 listening devices smaller than a shirt button, a camera embedded in a pen that records at 1080p and stores to a chip the size of a fingernail, and a secondary phone with 1 number saved in it, no name attached. You do not think about Tariq. You think about why you said yes. Not because you had to. In 9 years you've declined twice, and nothing happened. You think about the man on page 14 of the brief, the leaker, and the government he sold information to, and the 8 people whose field cover may have been compromised as a result. You think about whether that's why you said yes, or whether that's what you tell yourself so the decision feels clean. Then there's a knock at the door. Not housekeeping. Wrong rhythm. 1 knock, pause, 2 knocks. The recognition signal. You open it. A man in a hotel uniform hands you an envelope. Inside, a single card. On the card, in neat Arabic script, a line you don't recognize from any standard protocol. We know who sent you. You burn the card in the hotel ashtray. And now the door is closed. You're inside. You meet Tariq on a Wednesday, in a 2nd-floor meeting room inside the palace administrative annex. He shakes your hand with both of his. His English is immaculate, Oxford, you'll learn later, 2 years of postgraduate study, returned home because family asked him to. He is warm. He is perceptive. He asks you questions about your methodology that are 2 layers more sophisticated than anyone briefed you to expect. You answer carefully. You let him be smarter than you in the room. That's the technique, people trust the person who made them feel intelligent. By the end of the first hour, Tariq believes you are exactly what your badge says. By the end of the 3rd day, he has introduced you to 14 members of the household staff, walked you through 2 wings of the residential compound, and invited you to lunch in the staff cafeteria where the coffee is cardamom thick and the conversation is warm and ordinary and entirely in Arabic that you follow without showing it. You are building rapport. That is the official term. The unofficial term is, you are becoming someone Tariq trusts. And every day you spend doing that, Tariq's trust becomes a tool that belongs to Marcus, not to you. There is a version of you, the one who ran 0600 in Amman, the one who noticed his hands weren't shaking anymore, who files this observation. Who notes, Tariq is real. Who notes, his trust is real, and I am manufactured, and those two things cannot both continue to exist without one of them being destroyed. You file it. You don't open it. On the 4th day, you find the device. Not planted by you, planted by someone else. Behind a ventilation grate in the corridor outside the protocol office. Small. Military grade. British manufacture. You have British manufacture equipment in your shirt button. Someone else is in this palace. And they are not on your brief. You photograph the device. You send the photograph to Marcus. Marcus's response arrives in 40 seconds. Stand by. Do not touch. Do not adjust your movements. You stand by. For the first time in 9 years, your heart rate climbs past 58. Officially, you are a consultant reviewing access protocols. Unofficially, you are now monitoring a surveillance operation that is either sanctioned by a parallel team you were never briefed about, or running counter to everything you were sent here to do. Marcus goes quiet for 48 hours. No calls. No messages. The silence has a texture, not absence, but pressure. You felt this before. It means someone above Marcus is making a decision, and you are the variable they haven't accounted for. You keep working. You keep showing up for briefings with Tariq. You eat lunch in the cafeteria. You laugh at the right moments. You ask questions a consultant would ask. You are so thoroughly the person you are pretending to be that some mornings, walking the marble corridors of the East Wing, you have to remind yourself of your own name. Not your cover name. Your real one. On day 11, something shifts. The target, the leaker, whose name you know but do not use even in your own thoughts, because names make people real, begins changing his movements. Different routes between buildings. Lunch at irregular hours. His phone, according to the palace's own internal IT logs that you now have access to, shows 0 outbound communication for the past 6 days. He knows someone is watching. He doesn't know it's you. But here is what no one briefed you about. On day 13, Tariq mentions the target by name over lunch. Casually. The way you mention a neighbor. He's been under a lot of pressure lately, Tariq says, not looking up from his food. His daughter, she's been unwell. You set down your fork. I didn't know he had a daughter, you say. 19, Tariq says. Very bright. Some kind of blood condition. The treatment is expensive. You think about page 14. You think about the daughter enrolled at King Saud University. You think about the Foreign Intelligence Service on a friendly list, and a father who needed money, and 8 people whose field covers may have been compromised as a result. You pick your fork back up. You eat. You shower that night, but you don't feel clean. Marcus calls on day 15. For minutes, as always, but the tone is different. Flatter. The parallel operation is ours, he says. Second team. Oversight layer. You weren't briefed because the operation had 2 possible outcomes and we needed clean reactions from both teams. You ask what the second outcome was. Doesn't matter now, Marcus says. The target has been identified and confirmed. You have 72 hours to complete the documentation and extract cleanly. Do not make contact with the target directly. Do not alter any relationships inside the palace. He pauses. Tariq will be debriefed by the second team after your extraction. It'll be handled carefully. You know what handled carefully means. It means Tariq will be told a version of events that protects him by making him believe he was never involved. He will be confused. He may be angry. He will carry that confusion in a quiet place for years, unsure what the weeks you spent together actually were. The answer, if he ever found it, would be useful. You spend the next 48 hours completing your documentation. You are thorough. You are precise. You fill in every field, flag every anomaly, timestamp every piece of intelligence with the clinical accuracy of someone who has done this many times and has learned that the cleaner the file, the less you have to remember later. On the final day, you have lunch with Tariq for the last time. He talks about his mother. He talks about a film he watched over the weekend. He asks if your work is nearly done. You tell him yes. Another week, maybe 2. You look him in the eyes when you say it. He nods. You wonder, briefly, if this is the version of you that crossed the line your first self was tracking, the one who filed observations and never opened them. You wonder if there is a line left to cross or if you passed it so gradually you couldn't tell the difference between the descent and the ground. That night, in the marble-floored bathroom of your hotel suite, you stand at the sink for 3 minutes and look at your reflection. It looks back. It has your face. You don't recognize it. You find the file on your last morning. Not a digital file. A physical one. Brown envelope, no markings. Left on your hotel room desk, which was locked, which means someone with access to the hotel's master system, or to the second team's operational kit, put it there between 0200 and 0530 while you slept 6 feet away. Inside, a single printed photograph and a handwritten note. The photograph is of you. Taken from a distance, inside the palace, 2 days ago. You are walking with Tariq. You are laughing. The angle is high, ventilation great level. The note is in Arabic. 4 words. Stop. Or he falls. Tariq. Not the target. Not you. Tariq. You sit on the edge of the bed for 1 minute and 40 seconds, you count, and you run the logic. The device you found on day 4. The parallel team. The note. Someone in this operation has a different objective and they have decided the fastest way to redirect you is not threat of harm to yourself, they know you've been trained past that, but threat of consequence to someone who trusted you. They have correctly identified the vulnerability. You call Marcus. Not Friday. Not 4 minutes. You call and you talk for 11. Marcus is quiet for most of it. When he speaks, he says, complete the extraction. The Tariq situation will be managed. Who is it, you say? Who's in the palace that isn't ours? Complete the extraction. Marcus. Complete. The extraction. He hangs up. You look at the photograph again. You and Tariq in a palace corridor. Laughing. The light in the photo is gold, late afternoon through a high window, and if you didn't know what it was, it would look like a picture of 2 friends. You think about what Tariq told you over lunch, 9 days ago. He's under a lot of pressure. His daughter has been unwell. The treatment is expensive. You think about a father who made a choice. You think about yourself. You are not sure, right now, that there is a difference. You put the photograph in the hotel ashtray. You light it. You watch it burn. You finish the job. The extraction is clean. That is the word Marcus uses in the debrief, clean. Clean documentation. Clean departure. Clean break from all palace relationships. You are on a flight to Frankfurt within 24 hours of completing your final report, and the man you were, the consultant with the beige badge, does not exist anymore. The legend has been retired. The cover identity dissolved. In Frankfurt, you sit in an airport lounge and drink a coffee that costs 14 euros and tastes of nothing. A week later, you sit across from Marcus in a room that has no windows, in a building whose address you will never be given twice, and you are debriefed by a woman you have never met who takes notes in a system you cannot see. The debrief lasts 6 hours. It is thorough. It is professional. It is the closest thing to confession that your world has. At hour 5, you ask about Tariq. The woman makes a small mark in her system. Mr. Al-Hussein has been transitioned out of his palace role, she says. A private sector consulting position has been arranged. He's been briefed to understand his work with Meridian was a legitimate project that concluded. Does he believe that? She looks at you over her screen. That's not within scope for this debrief. You ask about the target. The leaker. The father. The matter has been resolved through diplomatic channels, she says. No formal charges. No public proceedings. He resigned from his position for personal reasons. His daughter is still in treatment. That detail isn't in the debrief because it wasn't in the brief. But you know it anyway, the way you know things now, not because you looked them up, but because some part of you couldn't stop looking. You think about a man who sold secrets to pay for his daughter's blood condition, and a system that used his desperation to confirm an intelligence leak, and a protocol officer named Tariq who lost his job because he was kind to someone who was paid to manufacture his trust. The debrief concludes. You are thanked for your service. You are awarded a commendation that is logged in a file that requires level 5 clearance to access. You sign 3 documents that say what happened in Riyadh never happened. You do not feel absolved. You feel accurate. You go back to Amman. Different apartment, protocol, but the same streets, the same 6-kilometer route, the same 0600. The shoulder is worse. You adjusted your carry position in the palace and it shifted something. Some mornings it takes 15 minutes before you can raise your arm above your head. You don't report it. You stretch it out. You keep running. 3 months after Frankfurt, you are assigned to a new operation. Different country. Different target. Same structure, a legend, a contact, a cover that will eventually be retired. You read the brief in one sitting. Your hands are still. You think about this sometimes. Not with horror. With the careful attention of someone taking inventory. The first operation that left a mark was in 2018. The mark lasted about a year. The second operation that left a mark, you're not sure how long it will last, because you're still in it, still running through those Amman streets with it lodged somewhere between your shoulder blades where you can feel it but can't reach. What you've learned, and you're not sure learned is the right word, adopted might be more accurate, is that the job doesn't ask you to be without conscience. It asks you to be efficient with it. To apply it where it has operational use and to set it aside where it doesn't. You've become very efficient. Some mornings that sounds like capability. Some mornings it sounds like the thing you were always afraid of becoming, the man in the mirror in the Frankfurt airport lounge, drinking 14-euro coffee and tasting nothing. You still think about Tariq. Not daily anymore. Weekly, maybe. You think about the way he talked about his mother. You think about the photo, the gold light, the laughter. You think about what it would cost to find him, not as an asset, not as a contact, but simply to tell him the truth. You think about the 3 documents you signed. You keep running. The city doesn't know what you carry through it every morning. That's not self-pity. That's the job. The job is invisible because it has to be. You understood this when you said yes. You understood it before you said yes. Understanding something and living inside it are different countries. You know that now. Somewhere in Riyadh tonight, a new badge is being laminated. It says consultant. The person who will wear it is 27 years old. They came from a military background. They were assessed in a room with no windows by someone who asked them what they wanted from their life. They said they wanted to matter. They were selected 3 days later. They don't know about the parallel teams. They don't know about the ventilation grate or the brown envelope or the 48 hours of silence from a handler who was letting someone above him make a decision. They don't know about Tariq, or about a father and a daughter and a blood condition and a foreign intelligence service. They don't know what clean means, in the vocabulary of rooms with no windows. They will learn. They always do. The palace has 17 kilometers of corridor. 42 exits. A residential wing where people are, in the end, simply people. It watches itself with the quiet intensity of a place that knows it is always being watched back. You are no longer inside it. But something you left there remains, not a device, not a file, not anything Marcus can retrieve or debrief. Something smaller. The memory of a laugh in a gold-lit corridor with a man who trusted you because you were very good at being trustworthy, and that trust was a resource, and you used it, and walked out clean. The new badge is ready. The new consultant will clip it to their lapel. They will smile at the guard who is not smiling back. Their heart rate will be high. It will take years to train it down. Somewhere, right now, they are stepping through a door. It closes behind them. The cycle begins.